Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and this video is gonna feel, oh my god, I was touching my eyeliner. This video is gonna feel a little random, I can't lie. This was not in the schedule, but I have just finished reading Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and I have so many thoughts and so many things I want to break down. And I thought, like, you know, the purpose of my YouTube channel is to talk about things that I love and the books that I've really enjoyed. So if you haven't heard of Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, where have you been living under a rock? Ever since TikTok and like the whole booktube phase like blew up, Colleen Hoover blew up along with it. She is the author of things like Ends With Us and Verity, and also Ugly Love, which is amongst one of her most popular ones. And I have read It Ends With Us and I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I was really scared to pick up Ugly Love because loads of people gave me so many different reviews on the book. It was kind of like somebody told me it was the most frustrating, worst book they've ever read in their life, and they were incredibly disappointed. And like my sister and my friend Grace was just like, this book is phenomenal. And I lean on the phenomenal side. I gave it a 5 out of 5, although I'm a little bit liberal when it comes to like my ratings, because I just don't think 5 is a good enough rating. But if it was a scale of 1 to 10, it would definitely be like an 8.5 and 8.6, because the book is frustrating, but when you're deep, it's supposed to be frustrating. You realize how well written this book is. So for those who haven't heard of Ugly Love, essentially it's a book about friends with benefits, hence the title of the video. So essentially, Tate moves in with her brother, and there's a guy next door called Miles that she's super duper attracted to. But Miles has this history, he has this past, he's really traumatized. He doesn't want to fall in love, but he's attracted to Tate, and Tate's attracted to him. So they decide to form this friends with benefits situation where they decide to just have sex, and Miles puts 2 rules on the table, like, don't look for anything in my past and don't think we have a future. That was his 2 rules. And even though Tate knew that she was gonna fall for him, she still accepted it. And this is Ugly Love. It is the process of their friends with benefits. This is the messiest book ever. Messy, because it is written in dual point of view. So that means that while we're getting the current timeline of Tate and Miles' relationships, we are also getting 6 years ago, from Miles' point of view, his relationship in the past that basically made him so like apprehensive of falling in love. And we basically just see those 2 timelines happen at the same time, and you're basically slowly dawning why Miles is the way he is and everything. So let's go into my deep dive of the different characters. So Tate, I really hated Tate's character because out of everybody I talked to really didn't like Tate's character, because basically up until like 3/4 of the way through the book, I blamed Tate for the whole situation. I was on team Miles because Miles never verbally said anything that he wasn't supposed to do. He never really crossed any of the rules. He never told her that he was in love with her. He repeated it out loud multiple times that he could not fall in love with her, like he refused to do it. He was so verbally clear, and I was like, to Tate, he is literally telling you and giving you all the signs that there is no hope for you. There is no hope for you to pursue this any further. Like, he doesn't love you the way you want him to love you. And then Tate has this, they get into a huge argument, and Tate has this massive speech where she's like, you say you're only in this to like F me, right? But every single time you've been inside me, you haven't F'd me, you've made love to me. And this is what is very important, is the distinction between verbal and non-verbal cues. And I didn't deep it until she said that, and I was like, wow, like, you're so right. Despite a person saying this, we also know the phrase action speaks louder than words. While Miles was saying all these things like, I can't love you, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I do believe we should take some of these words as face values, the non-verbal cues of him holding her tight, of him, like, you know, kissing her, of him checking up on her, of him doing all of these little things that shows that he is actually interested in her, but he is holding himself back, is what gave Tate hope. And I can't blame her, because we all saw it too. And also through the Miles point of view, we were like, we understand why he's holding himself back though. Like, we saw both sides, and it was kind of like, if Tate saw what we were reading and saw what we were reading about Miles's past, then maybe we'd be like, maybe she would be more understanding and more empathetic. But like, the verbal versus non-verbal cues, when Colleen Hoover put that on our plates, I was like, Tate, I'm so sorry, because I kind of get why she kept on holding on to this situation. And as a friend, you would kind of be like to Tate, babe, he's telling you he doesn't like you. But she is there and she is seeing all of these non-verbal cues. Miles' character. So Miles has a fearful, avoidant attachment style. And if you haven't heard of attachment styles, it's basically the way that you act in a romantic relationship as a relation of something that has happened in your past, or the type of parenting style that you have received affects your attachment style. And he has a fearful, avoidant attachment style, which basically means somebody who craves connection but also fears getting too close to anyone. And I think that Colleen Hoover, this is the reason why the book is so good, because it is so well structured. Colleen Hoover, I keep on saying it, Colleen, can I call you Colleen? Colleen Hoover does a fantastic job of the dual timelines. Like, I will keep on bringing that up because that stylistic writing structure was genius. But I think what made his character even more powerful was the fact that we never really got to know how he felt in Tate's point of view during their relationship. But through some of the things repeated, and I feel like this is like so tiny, like so tiny, in the way he would describe he would act around Rachel. There were glimpses and moments in Tate's chapters where he would describe that Miles would act the same, right? And there would be mirroring of how she was saying that I miss not kissing him. And then in Miles' chapter, he would talk about the reason why I love kissing Rachel so much is that when I'm not kissing her, like, I feel absence. And you can start to see like the mirror of actually, like, Miles is actually in love with her. And it's just something you have to pay attention to, and it's so close to detail. I think the most powerful, and the thing that cemented its 5-star review from me was Rachel's chapter. Rachel and Miles essentially kind of went through the same thing. Arguably, you could argue that Rachel went through something a lot worse, but Rachel and Miles went through the same situation. They went in it together. And using Rachel as an example to Miles and to the reader, that look, Rachel struggled. She still struggles. It still hurts her. But she moved on. She fell in love. She allowed somebody to let somebody into her life. She had a baby and she is very, very happy. And it was so powerful, the fact that Miles and the reader got to see Rachel, who went through the same situation, in a completely different timeline, like in a different like situation. Like, Miles chose to hold on to that guilt and to that grief and to that pain and avoid love. And then Rachel did that at first, and then she realized, like, this is not a way to be happy. I deserve to be happy. Making Miles see that Rachel has allowed herself to be happy not only alleviated himself from his guilt, but also gave him the hope that actually, if Rachel could do it, so can I, because we've been through the same thing. And that was such a powerful. We could have just let Miles go to see a therapist, or Miles just had that suddenly quick realization that, oh my god, I love Tate, and run back to Tate and like tell her like, oh my god, like, I love you and I'm so sorry, and then move on and happily ever after. But the fact that he didn't realize that until he saw Rachel, and also making the reader see Rachel and see Rachel's point of view and see like, wow, like, you know, he was really in this review, to make it more interesting, I have written down everything I've learned about how to do friends with benefits successfully with this book. Rule number 1 that Tate has taught me, Tate and Miles, I always say Tate like I'm really attacking her, but that's because their relationship is always told from her point of view until the end, so that's why I say Tate. Rule number 1, don't enter friends with benefits if you actually like the person. This is where Miles and Tate both effed up, because they were really attracted to each other to the point where like they were drawn to each other. So it wasn't just a physical attraction. It wasn't like, oh my god, this person's really good looking. It was like they kept on being drawn together. They kept on being in situations where the tension was so high. And I think if you're constantly put in situations with a person, and then you add the layer of sex, and then you add the layer of you guys spending time with each other, you guys are inevitably going to cross a boundary that you guys don't want to cross. Number 2 comes in the hope that it's going to be something more. If you ever enter friends with benefits with the hope that you can turn it into something more, because every movie and book has told you so, it's gonna get ugly. And that is why it gets so ugly, it gets so dark, it gets so twisted. You're just like, Tate, why won't you run? But she keeps on holding on to this hope. I mean, it ended up pretty well for her, but in a lot of real life situations, I can't see it ending up well. I really can't. Rule number 3, the whole it doesn't matter if we weren't friends before line doesn't work if you don't follow rule number 1. Rule number 1, don't enter friends with benefits if you actually like the person. So their whole justification was that the friends with benefits would work because they weren't friends. So really, it wasn't friends with benefits. It was we live next door to each other with benefits. But that doesn't work if you are drawn / attracted to this person on a mentally and physical and kind of spiritual level. It's not gonna work. Those rules are really interconnected, and that's what Tate and Miles tried to say to justify it. like, oh, like we weren't friends, so there's nothing to lose out on if it goes wrong. But they were both attracted to each other. They both really liked each other because they didn't follow rule number 1. So rule number 3 just has no consequence in this situation. It's just not gonna work. And so I feel like the art of a good friends with benefits, you should always put a timeline. Like, okay, we're only gonna do this for a month, then we're just gonna like cut cold turkey and be really serious about cutting cold turkey, or we're gonna do it for 2 months. I'm gonna tell my friend is gonna keep me accountable, you know? That's like, but again, they never do it. These rules, I promise you guys, if somebody made a movie with all of these rules in place and nobody broke them, they would just be friends with benefits, they would move on, they would go into another relationship, and everybody would be happy dandy. Like, I've actually cracked the flipping code here. I've cracked the code. Okay, to summarize, I also really like the ending, and I'm so picky with the type of endings I like in books because sometimes it just doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. Sometimes it feels rushed. This ending was perfect because we still saw Miles struggle. We still see Miles like grappling with this guilt and this trauma. And I like the idea that we don't ever really heal from our traumas completely. Like, they will still come back and plague us, but it's the active choice to choose courage and to choose to move forward in despite of that fear, in despite of that guilt, in despite of that trauma, and look to your future, which was symbolic of the baby, and like allow that happiness to seep in and that joy, and to allow yourself to feel that love in despite of the fear and the guilt and everything in the back of your mind. And courage is the sign that he was still healing. And I love that Colleen Hoover included it. I love how she didn't wrap it up tightly, that he was happy and he played happy families and the problems never came back to him again, because that is so unrealistic. This is so true, honestly. And the last line of this book, you guys know I'm a sucker for a good last line. And it's basically like, hold on, where is it? She said, "It's the beautiful moments like these that make up for the ugly love." Colleen Hoover, you've done amazing. I hope you enjoyed this very quick book review. I hope you learned a lot. If you ever decide to participate in Friends with Benefits, I hope you learned from Tate and Mal's story. If you have read the book, let me know your thoughts on some of my thoughts and opinions. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this very rambly book review, for coming to my FaceTime. This is essentially a FaceTime conversation. I'm having a FaceTime conversation with you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like. If I create like gang signs for like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you like. It's so cool. Anyway, bye guys.